A reckoning is at hand. A cratering economy, a divided country, and a whole list of domestic and global issues are upon us. For media and tech companies, winter is coming. Let's dive in. Here we go. Headline: Market cap check. Winter is coming for media and tech stocks, and I could not agree more. Every once in a while, VIP actually hits the ball right out of the park, and in this case, just with this headline, they absolutely did. And I'm going to keep this one short today. Yesterday was a little long, so we're going to focus right in on the story at hand. The third quarter is over. Not one big media or tech company stock has actually bounced back, at least as far as market cap goes. This year, these companies have absolutely been crushed. Netflix has actually made a step in the right direction in terms of value by recovering about 37% or gaining 37% during the most recent quarter, the third quarter, but they are still down 60% year over year. For all the drama around Twitter this year, and there was quite a lot, the stock itself is only down 2%, which is amazing. They had a 17% gain, quite a bit of a recovery in the third quarter. And now, obviously with Elon stepping in and stepping up and renewing the 5420 offer for the platform and taking it private, I think we're going to see, well, significant improvement there. Although, since it's going private, it won't be listed on the market anymore. So don't expect to see quarterly results beyond, well, Q4, I would imagine. Anyway, to be clear, this conversation is actually about market cap. Once public earnings have actually, come to light and been stated by these companies, we'll have like an even more granular look at what's going on within them. And I foresee some pretty stark results from many of these companies, and it's going to be quite bleak. I expect Apple will start to become a less reliable bet, at least in the near term, because they have to change manufacturing locations, and things like the iPhone, they're going to have difficulty with manufacturing that. Also, economic conditions are becoming worse, so Apple actually recently came out and readjusted their expectations recently as far as iPhone sales go, which actually hit them pretty hard, about 8%. This article actually cites it. By the end of 2023, I predict that we'll actually have a smaller field of actual players. Now, I say that because there's going to be some contraction and maybe some predatory acquisitions. Companies like Snap, who have lost a ton of value, could be relegated to an also ran at best, and obviously somebody's acquisition fodder at worst. When Cahill over at Wells Fargo released his analysis yesterday, which was covered here by The Hollywood Reporter, well, it sounded very similar warning bells, at least for Paramount Global and some others. In fact, he doesn't see a lot of upside other than maybe with Disney and Fox, which I completely understand. So many of these companies are heavily leveraged at this point, lots of red ink that they are carrying forward. And the depressed market caps aren't really helping them, at least in that regard right now. And it'll likely drive these companies to make some rather desperate decisions, like, well, Warner Brothers Discovery's been doing. So it's going to be a rough future for some of them. The analyst also points out that the pivots to DTC, which is direct to consumer, are dilutive to margins and earnings. No kidding. It also costs a lot of money. And again, he's not wrong. Both Paramount and Warner have said a few times now that this is the case, which is why they're headed back to the theatrical releases, and they've been, getting some success there, specifically Paramount. But I imagine Warner will hit a home run soon. Another thing that we agree on, or at least the analyst and I agree on, is that linear is about to feel a whole lot of pain. Outside of live sports and live events, which we've talked about here before, most people are completely pulling away from linear bundles. It's just too expensive and there's little to offer. more people are cutting the cord, and then they're not actually replacing all of that with something else as far as streaming services go, believe it or not. So services are going to be adding advertisement here to their streaming services, and that will likely shift revenue in a bad way as well. Outside of Disney and possibly Fox, there really isn't any growth projected for the linear space, so everybody's going to try to get it elsewhere. And K-Hall also cautions an overly optimistic, or any overly optimistic takes on streaming, and I'm right there with them. The margins are unproven and the capital outlay is very hefty. Think about billions and billions of dollars just to create new original content. So across the board, K-Hall actually cuts targets on pretty much all media and tech, with the exception of obviously Disney and Fox, which we've continued to mention, and that's based purely on their balance sheets and their unrealized potential, which I agree, that's actually very sound thinking. So after all the market gobbledygook that I just spit out, what's the takeaway here? Well, it's going to be very rough for big tech and big media in the coming quarter, the fourth quarter of the year, and that's going to make the year's end look even more bleak. You keep hearing that word bleak, it's a real thing. But hey, what do you think? Do you think that these companies could look quite different financially after another quarter of poor performance? I do. Is consumer dissatisfaction with all of these offerings actually contributing here? I think that's a factor as well. And it's not something that he talked about, but I'm willing to. And are all of these entities, or many of these entities, becoming irrelevant? At least in the big tech space, I would say Snap is probably one of those. And that's why I suggest they'll probably be in also ran. Twitter is actually bound to recover one way or another for a brief period. As to whether or not it survives a decade, I doubt it. I don't think Twitter will be here in a decade. That's just my opinion. And finally, one last question. Will it be a long winter for big tech and media this year? I think it will be, with the exception of a couple. I think it will be. One more note. WWE has actually done quite well, even with all the scandals that were recently brought to light, and some of that is on the speculation that it may sell. I don't think it will. Let's add another question. What do you think about that? So leave your comments, your thoughts, your whatever down below, and let's get a conversation going here. And speaking of getting a conversation going, I'm actually going to be visiting another channel today to talk about these very same issues over on Sci-Fi for Me TV. So I'm going to be placing that link down below, and you can please join us over there. Usually these conversations around monies and markets related to entertainment are wonderful. And Jason's the consummate professional, and his panel is very well educated, so this should be a good time. And again, gives us an opportunity to support another independent creator. And with that, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye. Quick note, I do in the description have all of the links to the articles you can peruse yourself, and you can dive down the same digital rabbit hole that I did. There's a lot more out there, and it's a subject worth studying. So, feel free to dive in. That'll also help us have a conversation about this. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.